Hey everybody, it's me, Steve SCHNEE, the CD Junkie. On this episode of CD Junkie, I'm going to be talking about a musical mover and shaker, a pop icon, a gentleman by the name of Herb Alpert and his Tijuana Brass. I'm only going to be covering the Tijuana Brass years. There's a new documentary out on Herb Alpert called Herb Alpert Is, and I'm dying to see it. But in order to celebrate the release of that movie, I wanted to go through his Tijuana Brass catalog. And I usually like to start these episodes out by telling you how I got into the artist, and that's basically because I grew up with him. His first album came out in 62. I was born in 63, and along the lines, I heard the hits, and my parents had a few albums. So when I got older, I started collecting the albums myself, and when the CDs started coming out, guess what I started doing? Yeah! Collecting them. We're going to start with 1962's The Lonely Bowl. Now remember, Herb Alpert is the A in A&M Records. He started A&M Records. Now, a lot of people have speculated that, Sergio Mendes was on that label. He was the M in A&M Record. And I can tell you that you are not correct because the M is actually Jerry Moss. Anyway, that's a little musical tidbit. But The Lonely Bowl is classic. This is really what started it all. In the early 60s, he was vacationing in Tijuana. He went to a bullfight. He heard the mariachi. He heard the sounds of the crowd. And he just wanted to blend those two, and he wanted to create a sound that would bring that same type of excitement. And little did you know that there was really not a Tijuana Brass. Most of his records were made with a wrecking crew. And the band that he would take out live and do tours with and stuff, that was a different group of guys that he brought. And so there's a live Tijuana Brass and there's a studio Tijuana Brass. But is there really a Tijuana Brass? Yeah, maybe in our hearts. But it doesn't matter because it's magic. That's what Herb Alpert does. He brings magic. Lonely Bowl, fantastic. Great highlights on this, of course, include The Lonely Bowl and Mexico, Never on Sunday, Let It Be Me, and so many more. Fantastic. This remaster is wonderful. Then came Herb Alpert's Tijuana Brass Volume 2. This came out in 1963. Spanish Harlem, Swinger from Seville, More, America, Surfin' Senorita, Mexican Corn. Great stuff. In 1964, out comes South of the Border. More classic. I mean, I truly love this. A lot of people say, he's not jazz. Well, yeah, he is. He's also pop. He's also easy listening. He's also exotica, lounge. Remember, there's more to artists than just the hits. When you dig into the albums and hear these remasters, you are going to hear a depth that you never heard coming out of your 60s or 70s AM radio. And this album, South of the Border, of course, the title track, The Girl from Ipanema, Hello Dolly, Up Cherry Street, one of my favorites, Mexican Shuffle, All My Loving. He seems to do a lot of Beatles songs, by the way, which is great. His next album, that came out in 1965, has one of the most iconic album covers of all time. Yes, I am talking about Whipped Cream and Other Delights. Yeah, everybody says they have this in their collection. Have you really listened to it? It's just fun from beginning to end. And it's true, Whipped Cream and Other Delights. Almost every track on here references something that you would eat or drink, including, of course, whipped cream, and A Taste of Honey, and Love Potion number 9, and El Garbanzo, and Butterball, I guess Butterball Turkey, Peanuts, Lollipops and Roses, Lemon Tree, Green Peppers, and so much more. Great album, 1965. Also in 1965 came Going Places, another classic album. This features Tijuana Taxi, one of his biggest hits, and Spanish Flea, which is the theme to the dating game. I mean, that is another iconic piece of music from Mr. Alpert. And this also has his version of Walk, Don't Run, Cinco de Mayo. Great album. 1966, out comes What Now, My Love? Another fine remaster here. This one features Freckles, the title track, It Was a Very Good Year, If I Were a Rich Man, The Shadow of Your Smile, Magic Trumpet. Chills when I think about some of this stuff. It's just so fantastic. SRO, Standing Room Only, came out in 1966 as well. This has Our Day Will Come, Beanbag, The Wall Street Rag, Flamingo. Ooh la la. First album, 1967, is Sounds Like, and that features more great goodness like Got a Lot of Living to Do, Lady Godiva, Town Without Pity, and one of my absolute favorites, the theme to Casino Royale, the 1967 movie, not the most recent Casino Royale. Such a killer tune. Everybody always asks me what's my favorite James Bond tunes, and I go through all the regular things, and I always forget this would probably rate right up there with Live and Let Die as my number one favorite Bond tune. Herb Alpert's ninth is his 10th album. No, not really. It's his 9th. I'm just seeing if you were paying attention. Favorites on this album include Abanda, the trolley song, The Happening, With a Little Help from My Friends, Fleabag. 1968, Beat of the Brass contains Monday, Monday, Beautiful Friend, Cabaret, Panama, not the Van Halen Panama, Talk to the Animals, and This Guy's in Love with You. Now, let me tell you something about Herb Alpert. Suave, cool, debonair, one of the coolest, nicest guys. He didn't have the greatest singing voice, but no, I'm not putting him down. If you listen to This Guy's in Love with You, his voice is perfect for that. His voice is intimate, warm. It just wraps itself around that song in the most simple kind of way. You can get a great singer like Robert Goulet or somebody like that and just belt that song out, and it's not going to have the emotion that Herb's does. This is amazing. It's proof that it's not always just the voice, it's the emotion that goes behind it, and it's fabulous. At the end of 1968, they released their Christmas album. Of course, I'm going to love this. I love Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass Christmas. And of course, he does classics like Winter Wonderland and Jingle Bells. Mixes the arrangements up, makes them sound unique and original, and sounds closer to what you think that the Tijuana Brass would be doing. But there's an amazing song on here that mixes Christmas and sunshine pop, and it's just amazing. It's called The Bell That Couldn't Jingle, and it is one of my favorite Christmas songs of all time. Just thinking about it now, it's just amazing. 1969, things changed a little bit. Still great. Warm came out. Still so many great songs on this album, including Without Her, Obla Di Obla Da, Pretty World. Warm, of course, the title track. Sandbox, another fine album. The Brass is coming. This has one of my favorite Herb Alpert songs called Good Morning, Mr. Sunshine. Absolutely fantastic. They do a cover version of The Beatles' I'll Be Back and Anna, You Are My Life, Moon River, Sunny. Took another 2 years, 1971. This is a whole new era. It's called Summertime. Hurt So Bad, Martha, My Dear, If You Could Read My Mind, Darlin', Summertime, Catch a Falling Star, Strike Up the Band. I love it. I do. And these remasters, they all sound so good. A lot of people tell me, oh, get the vinyl of it. Go back, get into vinyl, do it again. Look, if I want to hear the crackle from vinyl, I'll play the CD and chew popcorn at the same time. 1974, You Smile, The Song Begins. Different era, different sound, still great results. Fox Hunt, Up Cherry Street again, Promises, Promises, Alone Again Naturally, Last Tango in Paris, and A Song for Herb, and Groovy. Also that same year, Coney Island. This is now the Herb Alpert and the TJB, which doesn't bode well for the TJB, if you know what I mean. That's usually what happens right before you break up. But there it is, Herb swanging his thing. This has Coney Island, I Have Dreamed, Sweet Georgia Brown, Ratatouille, Catfish, This Masquerade, and more. I love Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. After these two 1974 albums, Herb went on his own, solo. All the rest of his albums were released solo until 1984, when an album comes out credited to Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass, and the album was called Bullish. And all I can tell you is it's not the Tijuana Brass. This is Herb Alpert jazz album 1984 with all the 1984 electronic bells and whistles. That's not saying it's bad, because I love the sound of albums that came out in 1984, and I love Herb's playing. It just doesn't contain even a whiff of the old TJB albums. It's still great to have in your collection, but if you're expecting it to sound even remotely like the old records, it does not. I'll eventually have all the Herb albums on CD, but I started with the Brass first, and then I'll go from there. Now, there are two compilations that I wanted to tell you about real fast that came out along with all of these reissues. This one's called Lost Treasures, Rare and Released, and has like alternate version, things that didn't make albums, a bunch of rare stuff, and something you may want to add to your Herb collection if you don't own it already. And finally, this album came out in 2006. It is Whipped Cream and Other Delights re-whipped. It's a modern remix. They took the original recordings and they went out and they added modern dance beats, and it's real fun to listen to. It doesn't replace the original Whipped Cream album, but it will appeal to folks who want to hear a fresh take on the album. Anyway, that is it for my Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass collection. I appreciate you sitting through this and letting me babble about Herb and the gang. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, my name is Steve SCHNEE, the CD Junkie.